Before that, let's find out what on earth is going on at Barcelona. They are yet to register. This is ridiculous. 7 players ahead of the new La Liga season, which starts on Saturday. They include Lewandowski, Koundé, Rafinha, Dembele, Christensen as well, to name but 4 or 5. And the list continues. Let's find out exactly where they're at. Andy Brassell, no one really knows.
Brassell,
our European football expert, can tell us a bit more. Hello, Andy. How are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, fellas. I'm well. I would appreciate it if you laid off Marcus Mumford, top guy, good AFC Wimbledon fan as well.
All right, okay.
I like Mumford.
Yeah, we just don't like the Suns. We love Mumford. We're not a fan of the Suns.
Fair. Okay.
What's happening here? I've mentioned a few of 4 players. There's Frank Kessie as well as another one. I mean, the list is a little bit worrying for Barcelona fans, isn't it?
Really worrying. Some of those Barcelona fans are in denial, of course, and think the world, La Liga, etc., is against them. Where they've really taken a backward step this week, we know they've done lots of financial gymnastics in the last 12 to 18 months to get themselves on an even keel and to be able to bring players in. Now, it took wage cuts before from the likes of Busquets, Piqué, Jordi Alba to register the last draft. So we're looking at Aubameyang, Ferran Torres, who came last summer from Manchester City, of course. And they thought they would be all right by opening up what they call palancas, economic levers, ways of like turning on the tap and getting more funding in. Now, one of these ways was to sell 25% of the TV rights for the next 25 years. Now, they said to the La Liga, we've made 667 million euros from this. And then they had a bit of a look at it, and they said, well, what's basically happened is Barcelona and the hedge fund who are buying those rights have created a separate company. They put in 517 million, the US hedge fund, and Barcelona have put in 150 million. So they're putting in some of their own money that they've already got and claiming it back as new money, which La Liga are clearly not having. And so they've said, look, you haven't got enough money to register these players. You need to either get more funding, clear the decks a bit more, etc., etc., etc. So they're going back cap in hand to some of their senior players as well to try and take some more wage cuts. Sergio Busquets understandably doesn't want to take another wage cut. He's only got a year left on his contract. He's already taken one. Gerard Piqué, who has designs on being the Barcelona president some point in the future, he said he would play for nothing. Now, if you followed the Messi story from last year, he'd know you can't play for nothing. Anyway, basically, you have to play for a minimum of 50% of your last contract. That's La Liga rules. So he can't give it all back, and that wouldn't allow them to register all those new players. But the really interesting thing, I think, fellas, is the fact that Ketier and Christensen, 2 of the ones you mentioned there, who signed on free transfers, if they're not registered by day one of La Liga, they could theoretically say to the club, right, cheerio, we're off for nothing. We're going to go and sign somewhere else. Now, there's no suggestion that they're going to do that yet, but their agents are a bit twitchy, let's put it that way.
Well, that was what I was going to ask there, is that if they can fail to register the players, can they go back to the original club that they came from? I mean, what really realistically can they do? What can happen?
Well, it's without precedent, really, Darren. The thing is, what we've got to go back and look at is, like, every La Liga team has a wage cut, but it's not a flat wage cap like in NBA or NFL or something like that. It's related to the amount of money that a team brings in. Now, Barcelona have always said, we need help because we suffered from the pandemic. Well, everyone else suffered from the pandemic as well. Real Madrid cut their cloth accordingly, and Barcelona didn't. You know, they not only signed a lot of players, they re-upped players to obscene contracts. Now, again, Joan Laporta, the president, will say, that was a previous regime. It wasn't me. But you can't walk into a club and go, I didn't sign any of the previous contracts, therefore I'm not going to pay for them. That is simply not the way the world works. In terms of players going back to their former clubs, that's not been a suggestion yet. And, you know, Bayern, for example, wouldn't want Lewandowski back, I don't think. You know, they're quite happy to have got rid of that problem. Brilliant as he was for them, he was unhappy. They've moved on. They look incredible with Serge Gnabry and Sadio Mane up front. So I don't think there's any question of those clubs having them back. Really, they're facing the prospect of having signed players for lots of money who simply cannot play.
Andy, let me ask you, I was reading about this on the way home, actually, and there was a great article, I can't remember who it was by, but it was a great article suggesting that some fans might might blame Messi for the fact that this club is well, more than sinking. It's sort of half down at the moment. But the reason being that every year, apparently, his agent will go back to the board and demand a new contract, and it will go up and up and up. And his time there, I think the last 10 years, they spent something like, well, just shy of £750 million on his wages. Are any Barcelona fans blaming Messi for the state the club's now in?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, because Frankie de Jong's been booed into training. Andy Brassell's been booed onto the pitch. A lot of players have had stick over it, but it's not their fault. You know, the board have sanctioned those contracts, be it the previous board or the current board as well, who are not entirely blameless in this, I would suggest. And the morality of going to Frankie de Jong, you know what, we want to take back your previous contract extension. We think it's not legal. Maybe you'll be in trouble if you don't go back. I mean, it's the most ridiculous type of financial blackmail. And I would hope that most fans can see through that. I mean, the fact is, Messi never got the ending he wanted at Barcelona. They offered him a new contract and then withdrew it last year and basically kicked the most important player in the club's history out on the street and said, right, yeah, you're done. Okay, bye. Which is an extraordinary thing. I mean, obviously there's a financial imperative to it. But, I mean, I'm sure there are Barcelona fans out there who blame all sorts of players. But the fact is, Messi is only the problem in microcosm, because Barcelona were always the club who couldn't say no. Players asked for a new contract and they gave them to them again and again and again. And there's an odd one out at every club. That's why Lewandowski ended up going to Barcelona in the first place, because Bayern only offered him a year's extension on the same money when he wanted a raise. And they were like, well, look, come on, man, we can't pay everyone. That's just part of life.
Andy, before we let you go, out of all the players we've talked about, from Kessie to Christensen to Lewandowski to Koundé, Rafinha, etc., all these players that haven't been registered, do you expect any of them to not be there?
No, I think they'll find a way.
Okay.
The problem with this is Barcelona are just kicking the problem down the road, and they're going to hit this problem again and again and again. And in the end, I think that will help Real Madrid widen the domestic gap and European gap between the two.
Andy, always a pleasure.
Cheers,
and an honour
Andy.
as well. Thanks so much for coming. Are you back on Sunday?
I've got this Sunday off, but soon.
You've got a day off. Who's allowed that?
I know, it's pretty outrageous, right?
Disgusting. I'll get your agent on the phone. Andy, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Take care, guys.
There you go. So Andy Brassell telling us all the problems at Barca. It's crazy. And he it's a great phrase he used at the end there. They just keep kicking it down the road.
Yeah.
You just wonder when all of a sudden they won't be able to kick it anymore.
I wonder that if they keep pushing it back, or pushing it further away, keep pushing it, it's going to get to a point when they go, well, how far did it go? Well, next 100, 200 years?
Yeah. They're £1.4 billion
Well, it's almost
in
like
debt.
if they keep changing the president, I'm guessing, then if you're in charge now and you push it down the road, it don't affect you, you're like, oh, it don't
That's
bother
right.
me.
That's exactly right. But it's got to affect someone at some time.
Of course.